All right. So just to reintroduce myself, my name is Jamie. I am a product manager at Peopletree Group, a multinational company that specializes in enterprise talent management solutions. Just before I kick this off, just want to give Get Boarded a very big thank you for such a wonderfully hosted conference. Look forward to all the games that are ahead and the rest of the talks throughout the week. So what I'll be covering today is Peopletree's latest innovation, which is Datawiz. And that is essentially empowering HR with business intelligence that we normally find in the finance, marketing, and sales functions. How do we want to do this? Well, we want to enable HR business partners and HR practitioners with the tools and the knowledge to have intelligent, data-driven conversations. Now, I'm going to kick that off by answering what you guys see on the screen there, and then answering what can Napoleon's Russian campaign teach HR about data storytelling. Now, to give you a brief history recap, Napoleon, conqueror of all Europe, conquered all besides one, Russia. He was quite upset about this, and he decided to go invade Russia. And how he wanted to do that is take a massive army of 500,000 soldiers and begin to start a campaign and drive the invasion through into Russia. Long story short, Napoleon got back. The goal of that as well was to get the surrender of Alex of Russia. Long story short, Napoleon arrived back with no surrender from Alexander of Russia, and he also got back with a mere 10,000 soldiers. Now, let's see what that has to do with data storytelling. Now, this is what we're looking at. What we're looking at is kind of the cold hard facts of the campaign. And I imagine Napoleon's HR person coming in on Monday morning with something similar to this and saying, "Sir, we were highly unsuccessful." Although this is factual, this doesn't really tell us a story, nor does it give us insight into what went wrong or insights into the solutions for any further campaigns. Now, data storytelling is about engaging the audience emotionally, providing depth and understanding to a topic, and backing up your understanding with data to drive better decision-making and better actions on what to do next. Now, let's take a slightly different approach to how we will visualize this. And my thinking of the solution would be Napoleon's HR person would just be get a bigger army. Now, I was watching a data visualization conference the other day, and they pulled up this visualization, and immediately this brought the data to life. If we see and we think about the campaign that I just went through, that I briefly went through, we can see this visualized and brought to life with this specific visualization. On the left, we can see the line very thick as 500,000 men started the invasion all the way through to Russia. We can see as the army deteriorated all the way through to the right-hand side of the screen. What we can also see is the subsequent U-turn that they made, and they drove all the way back to France with the remainder of 10,000 soldiers. Now, what I'm trying to get at is to build a better narrative around the data set. We need to visualize it so that we can begin to convey the meaning of the data in a powerful and compelling way. We want to see the challenges, the insights, and the solutions to real-life situations that we have descriptive data around. Now, the story of this type of, if we had to deep dive into this type of visualization, we could see the army started and got smaller. This was because, well, one of the reasons was because there were poor distribution channels. So there was no way to feed or get water to an army of this size. As you see, they go all the way up to the right, and when they make the U-turn, you can also see, even though they weren't fighting, the line is still getting smaller and the army was still deteriorating. Now, the reason for that is because they decided to, first of all, not set up distribution channels, and second of all, they decided to march through the peak of winter, getting temperatures low as -30 degrees. So how I can imagine you would tell the story with a visualization like this is first diagnose what the problems were. Again, distribution channels, The Russians were burning all the resources, so they couldn't live off the land, and they marched through winter. If we had to, for example, or hypothetically speak, visualize this in a real time, and because it's visualized over time, we could also predict the rate of deterioration of the army to figure out how far they could possibly go before they completely depleted all of their soldiers. And we'd also want to recommend some solutions. Set up some better distribution channels and do not march through winter. Rather march through summer to give your soldiers a chance. Now, bringing that data to life, we can create a more effective narrative. We want to visualize the data so that we're able to better diagnose what were the problems, want to predict what the future possible outcomes would possibly be, but we also want to prescribe what the best possible actions are to take. Now, what does this do with HR? And how important is people data in HR? Well, people data can help us identify the roots of problems, the likelihood of future outcomes, and give us insights into the best possible actions to take. Now, this type of information is valuable, but if we can get this in real time, it is extremely powerful to make better, more insightful, data-driven decisions. To bring this back to an HR perspective, we want to highlight the importance of real-time insights and decision-making. So again, what does this have to do with HR? Now, Datawiz enables those who have the biggest impact on talent and business outcomes, your HR business partners. We want to effectively leverage the people data that they have to create narratives and high-quality, data-driven conversations that lead to a strategic impact. We also want to do this by plugging in an analytics machine into your existing HR system to turn your descriptive analytics into diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. Now, your HR system is not an analytics machine. HR systems are built to store data, not derive insights or intelligence. The fact that strategic work still happens in stale, out-of-date spreadsheets is the detriment to HR's credibility as a strategic function. This is completely not analytics. PowerPoint and Excel are not analytics. I know this because hours are spent pulling data out of your HRIS and other systems and to just build graphs or charts to make critical decisions in a very delayed and responsive way, as opposed to real-time and proactive way. So what I'm trying to get at is value is only created when you extract the data, analyze it, and then connect it to HR processes, people, and business challenges. Now, this is the Datawiz solution. We take data that you already have. We turn that into information by adding meaning to certain data points. We turn that information into knowledge by visualizing it with powerful and interactive data visualization software. When we do that, you gain insight, which creates wisdom. And with that wisdom, analytics without action has no impact. We want you to be able to act on the insights that you have gained and that you haven't been able to gain before. Now, how do we do this? Very simply put, we do this by answering just two questions. The first is, so what does this data mean? And the second, now what do you want me to do about it? Here's an example of simple data in your HRIS system. And just to give a quick question, can anyone give me insight into the challenges that this company is about to face? Or better yet, some solutions and an effective narrative to convince the line manager or head of department to react. Now, those are quite rhetorical questions, but you may be able to do it in a couple of hours or days. But I'm going to show you how you can create insight and an effective narrative before the end of this presentation. So now we'll do that by just looking at two simple data points that I've highlighted on the screen. That is the start date of the employee, and that is the date of birth of the employee. So now how we turn that information or data to information is by assigning meaning to the data points. If we look at the start date of the employee, now that's indicative of the level or amount of institutional knowledge that person has about that business. Now, that's a great value to the business because they know a lot about your people, about your processes, about your legacy systems, and they have a lot of valuable knowledge about your business. So simply visualizing it, as you can see there, we've just binned it into 0 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, and so on, which gives us a different perspective of the data we're visualizing. Again, so what does this data mean? Now, if we visualize it on the right-hand side, we can also start to identify the rate of growth or decline and the history of hiring. Again, this is just one simple data point that we've now created so much intelligence around by visualizing it in this specific way. Last thing we want to do is add age, the second data point that I mentioned. Now, age is an indicator of where a person is in a career stage. And all people in HR know that there are different challenges associated to specific individuals based on the career stage that they're in. Now, you can only begin to tell a story with the data when you connect this matrix back to HR processes. So let's do exactly that. If you notice on the bottom, those are the employees, those are gray dots that have just been brought on in the last 2 years. If you look in the middle section, the purple dots are those are the people that are just past their honeymoon phase and are in their mid-career stage. If you look to the top right, those red dots are people that are going to retire soon. And on the bottom right, those are people we brought in late in their career. So what does this mean? Well, first of all, the gray dots are people that we've just brought on. Those people need to rapidly build institutional knowledge. And we need to make sure that we're connecting them with the people so that they can effectively do the job that they're assigned to. So essentially what we want to assess here is the effectiveness of the onboarding, recruitment, and talent acquisition, and the rate of growth by just looking at these dots. If you look to the red, these are the people that have high institutional knowledge, but they're about to leave the company. So what are we doing to transfer that institutional knowledge back into the business? Are we doing succession management? Are we doing replacement planning? Are we setting up some type of mentorship program so that the institutional knowledge of the people that are about to leave the company is transferred back into the business? And the last little point is that little yellow dot or gold dot in the bottom right. And this is indicative of bringing people or someone in late in their career. Now, this is probably indicative of poor internal mobility and not building those skills internally, so that the companies now have to go on outside and effectively go buy those scarce skills in the market. So again, this is indicative of a poor succession or replacement planning, and the action would also be to transfer those scarce skills back into the business to avoid a company going out and trying to look for those scarce skills again. So what we've done there by visualizing it this way, we've looked at the effectiveness of onboarding, seen the contingency planning, the effectiveness of our contingency planning on our retirement risks. And the last thing I didn't actually mention there are the purple dots. And these are people in their mid-career stage that are looking for opportunity. So if you're not providing certain career development opportunities or opportunities in the business, they may become a retention risk. Now, again, analytics without impact has zero action. That's why we've built intelligence into Datawiz, so that you can not only gain insight into the data, but also gain some insight into the possible remedies and actions that you should take. Eventually, we put this all together in industry-leading analytics software, and we add organizational data to look at this at a level of functional units, to also look at this at a level of job level or job complexity, and to also look at this at a manager level. Now, if we can do this with just 2 data points, imagine what we can do with the rest of your data. Now, just some examples, we use existing data to have intelligent conversations similar to this, but also related to diversity and inclusion initiatives, to high potential identification and management, to talent segmentation, talent reviews, and quite a few more modules that I'd love to go through, but the time is just not all there today. So what I quickly want to show you just before I end my presentation is what the application looks like from the inside. So here, I quickly want to dive into just one functional unit, business risk management. Now that you guys understand the theory and the concept behind visualizing this data, let's take a little bit of a deep dive into what possible actions we can take here. Now, just noticing, first of all, 8 to 9 years seems to be a bit of a dip. Now, I don't think that would be indicative of the rate of growth. I think that would be indicative of people leaving after the honeymoon stage. So possibly having an issue of retention planning around the 8 to 9 year mark. But what we also want to do is have effective conversations with line managers that spur action and that create a strategic impact. Here's Carl. So first of all, the gray dots, I think that would be Roland. We want to make sure that that person is effectively onboarded. Have a conversation with Carl about whether he's connected him with the people he needs to be connected with, and make sure that he's effectively building his institutional knowledge and network. We can also see we have Miley, who's around the 6 to 7 year mark. Now, again, what we just saw is a 8 to 9 year mark, people tend to drop off. So again, what are we doing there from a career management point of view to keep Miley on? What we also have here is Frederick, who is a high retirement risk for us. Again, we need to make sure that institutional knowledge is transferred back into the business. Now, an example of an effective strategy, again, I'm not an HR person, but what I would possibly do is make a mentorship program with Frederick and Miley so that he could transfer that institutional knowledge back into the business, and so that he doesn't become a retirement risk, and so that he could pass on his relationship knowledge and legacy system knowledge there as well. So that is it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the quick, brief summary of Datawiz and the power of visualization and data storytelling.